Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. 61 days it's been since Neil Lennon was relieved of his duties as Celtic manager. We still sit here managerless. It seems like it has been one step forward, two steps back for the past few weeks. There is no real clarity as to where you're heading as a football club with the direction we're going in. You know, we've heard rumours, we've heard talk of names, you've heard your Eddie Howe's, your Fergal Harkins, and you've heard about, you know, plans that might have been coming into place, but nothing has actually came to fruition. And a lot of people are getting sceptical, a lot of people are starting to worry about what is actually going to happen with the club, who will be the next manager. We're here today in this video to talk about, well, what has been happening, what to expect over the next few weeks, and why there has been such a delay. I have been one on this channel who's been trying to keep it calm. I've even spoke about Jose Mourinho at one point. But we're going to sit down today and talk about what the delay is, where is Eddie Howe, when will it happen, and if you pardon the pun, how will it happen? Right then, as I said at the top of the video, 61 days we have now went without, it seems, getting any closer to a manager. There has been a couple of days in particular it seemed like, oh, maybe this is it, this is the big breakthrough, but nothing has actually came from it, which has been very frustrating, very irritating. And on the park and off the park, things just seem to get worse. You know, we had a couple of moments of great faith when we beat Livingston and Falkirk, but we were shot right back down to earth last week in the Scottish Cup game. And you know, Dominic Mackay's now started his role as CEO, and we've heard nothing from him either. Season ticket renewals, you can only imagine will be right round the corner, and yet we don't have any sort of idea of where we're going. And that can be for a number of reasons. And the reason I'm making this video is because I want to talk about the fact that I still remain confident that Eddie Howe will be our next manager. Now, that's not me sitting down and saying that I can guarantee that Eddie Howe will be in the job next week, and I've got any in-the-know information. I just think that a lot of people are forgetting how complex these things are and how long they can actually take. We're talking about a top-level manager here at a top-level club. You know, Eddie Howe is someone who is quite rightly going to be interested by potential openings down in the Premier League. We've seen his name linked with Newcastle, we've seen his name linked with Crystal Palace as well. Quite rightly, he'll want to probably explore those options if given the chance. Celtic, however, you know, we're a much bigger club. We're in a position where we'll be in Europe, we can be challenging for trophies. We might not have the same financial benefit as those clubs, but it's certainly an attractive prospect that Howe will want to take as long as the right things are in order to come to the club. And I think people are forgetting that. I think a lot of people think this is a click of the fingers. Eddie Howe sees Celtic and Eddie Howe comes to Celtic. Well, what's the delay? There's a reason this delay is happening. And this could go for any manager. For all we know, there's someone else waiting in the wings who, as well as wanting to put things in order to come in and be manager and the right people in place for that. But most realistically, that is going to be Howe. And you've maybe seen some articles over the past few days talking about that. So let me try and give you a clearer sort of explanation as to why things might be taking so long. Reports are suggesting that Eddie Howe is waiting for the right team to come into Celtic with him. You know, he wants to have his own coaching staff. We're probably going to see the end of John Kennedy and Gavin Strachan's time at Celtic, and quite rightly so. I think that if you bring in a new manager who's meant to be kind of leading us through a revolution of change and a sort of new era, you know, you want to get all the old blood out. For as much respect as I will give John Kennedy, you know, he's now been at Celtic for 5, 6, 7 years in the first team coaching staff. And that, you know, is as good as he's been at times, and as much praise as we want to give him, you know, a new manager might not want that. A new manager wants to bring in his own team, his own ideas, and to bring in your own ideas, you have to get rid of the ones who might push old ideas upon you. So it's most realistic that they're going to leave the club, and alongside that he wants to bring in his own coaches. So from the understanding that has been given from these reports, Eddie Howe is wanting to bring coaches Simon Weatherstone, for some reason being referred to as Stephen Weatherstone in every article I've read so far, but Simon Weatherstone and Stephen Purchase from Bournemouth, assistant manager and technical director respectively. The problem is these guys are on contract with Bournemouth until 2023. These guys have still got a lot of time left, which is going to take compensation money to bring them to Celtic. And also we sit in a predicament right now where Bournemouth are doing quite well under Jonathan Woodgate in the Championship. They've had a little turn of form, they're in a playoff position. If Bournemouth get promoted to the Premier League, these guys are going to get wage rises. There is a very realistic chance that Celtic will not make the final move, will not employ Eddie Howe or any of these other guys until the playoffs are done and dusted, whether that be Bournemouth going up or staying in the Championship. Now, to look at it from an optimistic point of view, because you know Celtic won't want to pay the money, I don't think Bournemouth will win the playoffs. I think there's better teams around there, but that's another conversation. If they do win the playoffs, then you have to start to worry. Is Dermot Desmond and Dominic Mackay going to sit down and say, yep, let's pay more compensation when their wages go up to the Premier League? I don't think so, and that will be a big stumbling point for Eddie Howe coming to Celtic. Celtic might have the money, but most realistically don't want to spend that on compensation fees when they could probably look elsewhere and get cheaper alternatives. That's how Celtic run. We know that. That's not news. That's nothing new. That is just the way how things run at Parkhead. But if they don't win the playoffs, then that's when I think the conversation will become more realistic as to going into Bournemouth, offering these fees down and trying to tout their services to Celtic. This seems to be the biggest kind of time waster just now on whether Eddie Howe will come to Celtic or not, and I think that's what people are getting worried about. People are thinking, and people have been commenting on my videos, you're not getting how long's that been? Let's just put this into perspective for a minute, because it has been quite worrying. I can understand why there has been apprehension and doubt there for Celtic supporters in particular. The first article that came out and said Eddie Howe will be announced next week. I think it was the Daily Mail that broke it, Stephen McGowan maybe, or it was one of those the 3-letter term articles. They came out and said it would be announced early next week. It wasn't announced early next week. And then there was an article after that said, oh, it'll be later in the week because of the stock exchange and stuff like that. It wasn't later in the week either, and yet we are here now 25 days later and there's still been no announcement. I can understand why people of the opposition are kind of laughing in that and looking down on that, and I can understand why fans are apprehensive, because that was April 1st. April Fool's, it was April 1st that first sort of announcement came out that it would be Eddie Howe and it would be announced, and yet we're still here managerless. So I can understand that, but when you think about negotiations, they take time, man. Celtic, you've got to remember, are going through a due diligence process here. They've got to make sure they're doing the right thing for the football club, for the supporters, for everything else, which in my eyes is getting Eddie Howe, but they've got to do it in a way that is in the best interests of both Eddie Howe and Celtic. There's no point in employing Eddie Howe and not giving him what he wants, because as we know, that's all the meaning of disaster. Look what happened with Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers came to the club very happy, but Brendan Rodgers wasn't given what he wanted. He wasn't given what he was promised, and that's why he went to Leicester. And we all call him a rat and a snake and all the rest of it. But there was a reason he left, because he knew that the board weren't going to put things in place for him to take Celtic to where he wanted. So why would we waste our time and do the exact same thing with Eddie Howe? Celtic need to go through this in a calmly and justifiable manner, where they're doing the right things. And Eddie Howe will be looking at that from his side as well. You need to understand that, as I said at the start, not a click of the fingers thing. Appointing a manager of the highest calibre does not happen overnight. Things like this are drawn out, especially when there are contracts to tie up and there's loose ends to go around surrounding other football clubs. Another big part has been the whole director of football conversation. Richard Hughes is currently still at Bournemouth as well. He's been there since 2014 and worked with Eddie Howe throughout all his time at Bournemouth, basically. He was the guy kind of above Eddie Howe, and he wants him apparently in that similar role at Celtic. However, as we've heard time and time again, Celtic are extremely interested in bringing Fergal Harkin to the club to work in that director of football role. So how do they balance that out? Of course, Celtic have had their eyes elsewhere, but then a manager who they want comes in and goes, well, I don't want that, I want this guy. So you've got to think about how the complications start there as well. Do you create a role in which you get two guys working and sort of different things? You know, you look at Manchester United, they've got Darren Fletcher working aside from the guy who is a similar sort of role. Now, do they do that at Celtic? Do they create something like that, or do they just completely cut off the links with Fergal Harkin? You know, there's a lot of conversation, a lot of negotiation that goes into these things, and it's why you have to remain patient, it's why you have to remain calm. I'm confident Celtic will get it over the line and it will happen, but it's going to happen in good time, and it's going to happen when things are ready and good to go. I think that announcing how before they've got anything else done could lead to more apprehension, it could lead to more mistakes. So get everything in order, get everything in place before an announcement is made. But remember, those season ticket renewals are around the corner. So they and I know it sounds completely contradictory, but fans will look for that to be sped up a bit. I think at the end of the day, we all want this season done, we all want the announcement to be made. That's been made perfectly clear. I can only take a kind of 5-minute browse through my comment section. I realise, like, wow, look at the kind of mess it's leaving the fans, and we're debating with each other every day, and we're arguing about who's going to be manager. Rangers fans are still claiming it's going to end up being Roy Keane. as I said, I have no in-the-know knowledge that would make me go, it's going to be Eddie Howe. But when you sit down and you look at how long these things are taking and how drawn out it has been, yes, it's incredibly frustrating. I'm not denying that for one moment. Of course it is. I think we would all like a perfect world in which it's announced and things get better and we're all talking about the excitement of next season. But when you weigh up the situation of appointing a manager itself with the situation Celtic are in terms of a rebuild and how much actually has to be done, it's perfectly justifiable and why it's taken so long. Of course, next season is going to creep up. It's going to come quick and we're going to need to make changes quick. We're going to have to make signings quick. We're going to have to cut out the deadwood quick. All these things have to happen rather quickly. But when it is as large and complicated as things are, it's just one that you've just got to sit through and hope for the best. Patience, a double-edged sword, of course. So it doesn't make things any easier. But look, if Eddie Howe comes in and he gets his men, he gets Weatherstone and he gets Hughes, he gets Purchase, we get all these things together. I'm very happy with that. I'm very confident as to where we go next season. Whereas I wouldn't be so confident if Eddie Howe came in and he didn't get his coaching staff and he didn't get the things that he needed in place to kind of go with his vision. At the end of the day, we're employing a head coach here and starting a whole new sporting unit. And everything changes. The team, everything there. And to do it bit by bit over the course of maybe a whole year is never going to work successfully. So that's why I urge there to be a little bit of patience while we wait on this. Will it be any time soon? God knows. As I say, I think the whole Bournemouth playoff situation is going to make a kind of huge mark in it all, and it might slow things down even further, which is frustrating, but we can't control that. That's outside Celtic's control. These guys at Bournemouth, whether they want to come or not, different story, but you can only imagine that if Howe is still the guy leading the race in terms of the bookies' favourite, and the reports are still coming out about Howe and all of this, you can only imagine that's the guy who wants the job, but he just needs those things in place, those final kind of pieces of the puzzle to get it all together. Aye, that'll do. I've chin wagged enough. Of course, we've spoke about this on the podcast an awful lot. Every week we talk about where Eddie Howe is and when it's happening and what else has got to happen and for that to happen. And that's going to happen over the next few weeks as well on the podcast, so make sure to listen in. I just thought I'd make this video to talk about the whole situation. 61 days. I know I'm saying be patient, I just want something. I just want something. I want to be happy, I want to smile. I feel like Celtic haven't been able to provide a smile enough this season, so hopefully we get something soon, but of course it's a difficult situation. We've got to acknowledge that. If you have enjoyed the video, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Please, if you're new around here or you haven't already, click that button, it does mean a lot. Click the like button as well, I urge you to do so. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you all next time.